Let's hit it. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul. You may recognize me from other corners, and hopefully not the ones you normally creep, but we're here to talk about controversy. This is my curious corner of controversy, after all, so what would it be if we weren't talking about controversy? Today, we're going to start with an old sci fi classic, Alien. So, we're going to do a little history about the first movie, then just kind of fill in the rest of it. So, for those of you who know what Alien is, good for you. For those of you who don't, where the hell have you been since 1979 when this came out? But, let's see. Alien, like I said, came out in 1979. It is a science fiction horror film directed by Ridley Scott and written by Dan O'Bannon, based on the story by Dan O'Bannon and his friend Ronald Shush it away, one of those things. Originally entitled Dark Star, and original creature design was described as a spray painted beach ball, so thank God for massive overhauls. But, long story short, the movie takes place in space aboard a space traveling tugboat, more or less, called the Nostromo, which is this giant scavenger vessel that is just minding its own business. When they get a distress call, the crew gets woken up from their cryo sleep to figure out what said distress call is. Long story short, they go check it out, end up finding a derelict spaceship full of some kind of alien egg pods. One of the crew members touches one, gets one attached to his, well, not one, but one of the inhabitants, later on dubbed facehuggers, attached to his face. And then from there, shit just goes haywire. The movie is phenomenal if you haven't seen it. I'm hoping most of you have. Alien is just really one of the, forerunners for practical effects and just like that slow building horror tension that, for those of you who know the film, it just does perfectly. I want to say it's like 45 minutes in the movie before you actually really see anything crazy happen. About 25-30 minutes in, you're introduced to the facehuggers, which are these spider-like, prehensile-tailed creatures that latch on your face, jab a tube down your throat, and drop an egg in your stomach. When they latch onto your face, they do it with a fierceness that when you try and take it off, it just constricts until it cuts off your airwaves and possibly kills you. So it's really self-preservation and also protecting the egg and the host of said egg. The crew consists of an amazing group of actors. Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, who plays Ash, which we'll get to as well, Yaphet Kotto, and introducing Balaji Badego, a 7'2" Nigerian graphic design student who they met in a bar, who got to be in the suit of the xenomorph. If you don't know what the xenomorph is, that's what the alien species is actually called. Because, well, basically, after the egg form, whatever they're deposited into, they kind of grow from that and take on the attributes of that creature. So the things that Alien did right from out of the gate, for one, like I said, they have an amazing set design. The spaceship looks crazy. The computers have all kinds of dots and dials and all kinds of other stuff, blinking lights, stuff that, looking at our tech now, seems like will never look like that, but we'll see. But the set design is, really on point. They did amazing work with miniature designs and miniature sets and stuff like that. They find this crazy derelict ship, like I said, and inside they find these crazy egg pods. I believe the Kane is the crew member who finds the egg pod and makes the mistake of touching it. They've got such a, I don't know, distinct way they open. It's the weird tri-flap that slowly opens up, and out of nowhere the facehugger just jumps out and wraps around and starts going to town on the guy. When they get him back to the ship, they start trying to remove it, and then they find out that, for one, it starts suffocating him by constricting his throat and whatnot. And then after trying to remove it with some kind of like plasma cutter, they realize that its blood is a very highly caustic acid that will burn through levels and levels and levels of ship before it extinguishes itself. Not to mention Kane, if it bleeds on him, it would just, melt through his head or whatever it touches. Like I said, it's like 45 minutes before like the real shit show starts, and that's when everybody thinks everything's fine. The facehugger falls off and seemingly dies and is done with its process. The crew goes about their business to eat dinner and whatnot, and that's when the chest burster, the most iconic, not most, but it's got to be one of the most iconic scenes in sci-fi cinema, of a small silver-toothed creature just slowly bursting and eating its way through a person's breastbone and out the front, is awesome. One of the things that they did in the filming of it was keep that part a complete surprise from most of the cast and crew. So the fear that the cast, portrays is legitimate, because they had no idea that this was going to happen. And they did an amazing job with the practical effects and the gore. It's brutal to watch, even to this day. Like, every few years I break out my Alien box set and just kind of break through them all. Alien is, like I said, it just sets that perfect tone of just slow build, where it's almost an hour of cast and crew with very little, glimpses of the alien here and there. And it does this amazing transformation from small, almost defenseless, even though its blood will fucking destroy everything, creature to what eventually is a fucking 8-foot tall bipedal murder machine that is just epic. I don't know, Alien, I think the first one I actually saw was Alien Resurrection, which was the 4th in the film series. And as soon as I saw that, I was just kind of blown away by the creature effects and had to slowly go back and just start from the beginning and see where it all came from. Another thing that the Alien series did was introduce us to android, cyborg, humanoids, with one of their crew members who they come to find out is one, and he's basically a sleeper agent who has his own set of directives that he's supposed to follow, which more or less consists of getting an alien sample by any means necessary. And it's just this amazing world building, universe building movie that plays such an important part in just sci-fi culture from there on, basically. That one movie ended up sparking an entire franchise. Now there's video games, comic books, animated movies, full-length feature films. There's tons of novels. I used to read all the novels back in high school. the they're just amazing. So I guess let's talk about the alien a bit. All of the creature design that they ended up keeping and running with were mainly designed by H.R. Geiger or Giger, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Who, if you know anything about this guy, he does amazing work. He's done a ton of either, artwork for bands and music and all kinds of stuff like that, or inspired a ton of other artists to not steal, but, pick apart his style and kind of take huge chunks out of it. The big thing that inspired it was this piece called The Space Jockey and the Birth Gun, which are these just crazy, weird, sci-fi, creepy, amorphic, atomic art pieces of creepy humanoid space beings that always have this weird sexual undertone. The actual some of the original designs of the alien head was straight up dick. There's no nice way to say it. It is what it is. They definitely toned it down a bit, but at the end of the day, it is a big phallic object chasing you and eventually penetrating you in all kinds of harsh ways. And that's one of the things that really, I think hit crowds differently. It was usually in horror movies, for one, it's the women being targeted a lot of the times. Usually the men have to defend themselves, or are defending the women in this, that, and the other. But the Alien franchise really introduced this idea that, for one, childbirth is considered the most painful thing in the world, or damn near up there. So the thought of doing that forcibly through your chest as a man is even a little scarier, let alone that the thing coming out is going to end up being 7 or 8 foot tall. It's a definite shake to the system, I guess. The creature design is just amazing. They did months and months and months of building the exosuits and the xenomorphs. They had multiple helmets. They ended up using 3 different final helmets for the film with different opacities to them, so you can see the different depths to the different membranes that are inside the xenomorph skull head. One of which actually did have a human skull inside of it. Another really weird, cool thing they did is they made miniature suits of the xenomorph for Ridley Scott's children to actually run around in, because they used that for some special effects and scaling shots. The first movie just does such an amazing job at, like I said, just building that world and that slow creeping feeling of there's something terribly wrong and you don't know what it is until it's too late. And that just carries over. Like, slowly this small alien being that kills one of their people just from being birthed is on their spaceship, and little do they know it's growing at an extreme rate, and before long it's gonna, like I said earlier, be 8 feet tall basically. Slowly it picks them off one by one until by the end of it, it's Sigourney Weaver by herself having to fight the thing off, and it has this amazing ability to just kind of blend into their ship's hull design, which they do beautifully. There's times where, even, after watching the movie a ton of times, I know it's gonna happen, but you still have to find it and look at it just right to make sure that's the alien and not a random pile of tubes or whatever. And it's just great. Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's character, her name is Ellen Ripley, by the way. She is the badass of badasses, and I think set a huge standard for heroes in general, but she definitely showed that, women can also be the hero, and that was one of the first movies to really do that. And it did it in such a successful way that she continued to lead that series for another 3 movies after that. Aliens is the sequel where they end up going to what they think is either the alien planet or a planet with a severe infestation of aliens, xenomorphs, whatever you want to call them. They go there, they find a abandoned outpost that has just been decimated by aliens. Ripley's within this time after really shittily being cornered by Weyland-Yutani, who are the corporate overlords that basically rule Ripley's life one way or another. They force her to go back out to find these alien species because they don't believe her, or they secretly do and they just want another sample all over again. But they find this abandoned post, nobody's there. Little do they know, again, there's just hundreds of aliens, inhabiting the place. There's the queen laying eggs left and right. And luckily this time she's got some space marines with her, which do like 5 minutes of good before shit goes completely apeshit wrong. And Aliens does like a complete flip-flop with the slow build. Like I said, the first movie, it's almost an hour before you really see the alien for the first time, and it's like unholy glory. But in the second movie, it's, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes in, you've got aliens ripping people apart, blood blasting everywhere, all kinds of just amazing awesomeness. And although I think the Great movie did a great job at building that fear, the second one still has that tension because it's a different level to the fear. It's straight survival from, like I said, this swarming host of mindless drones that are being controlled by the queen, whose only wish is to, populate, reproduce, consume, or not consume, but, gather and just procreate her species further and further and further. And again, these business politics end up playing this huge part with this seemingly military rescue mission. Turns out that there's, a bureaucratic person in place whose, only job is to look out for the well-being of Weyland and Yutani, the corporation. So again, that's that cycle that seems to they reuse, but in a very clever way usually. It's not the same plot hole over and over. It's using a key point in the storyline that really pushes the elements through. And again, it's just an amazing film. The first two are, I consider, the best. The third one, it tries to go back to that original feel of the singular alien entity, slowly picking people off one by one, because in the third one, after being the sole survivor yet again, Ellen Ripley is now on a prison planet, I believe called Furioso or something like that. And it's a prison planet, like I said. She's the only female there. And the alien tagged aboard and is now just ripping apart these prisoners left and right. It's the scene that I think most people know is the iconic alien scene where the alien corners Ripley and you just see the slow reveal of the inner secondary mouth just drooling and hissing in Ripley's face, and this epic close-up shot. And the third one's great. It's, again, they try to bring back that single threat feeling, but it's still just overwhelming. But again, at the end of the day, the Weyland-Yutani comes in to just try and get their alien so they can start making money out of it with whatever weapons testing they want to do. Like I stated earlier, the first alien movie I ever saw was Alien Resurrection with Ron Perlman, who is one of my absolute favorite actors. And Alien Resurrection, I don't think gives the horror vibe that the originals did. but it's definitely like just straight sci-fi action. Um, in this one, it's revealed that after Weyland Butani clones Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley several times, they make all kinds of changes to her, and there's a clone of her that's a little bit extra running around on the ship where they've been cloning and breeding xenomorphs to weaponize. They don't really get into the detail behind it, but they're in the early stages of it. They always seem to underestimate them because the xenomorphs figure things out, escape, and again rip apart the ship full of, military personnel, and also a group of mercenary bounty hunter, fucking do whatever they need to do, cutthroat bastards, and this epic chase ensues basically of these people trying to get to escape pods and this, that, and the other to get off the ship to escape the xenomorphs. The whole time, little do they know that there's a new alien species, well, not species, but a new half alien, half human hybrid, which in the movie the practical effects look amazing. It's just fucking weird to look at. It's this pot-bellied, yellow-skinned, Michael Jackson nose having creature that it's just creepy, but because of it actually has eyes. There's like a little more of a human connection to it, I guess, at certain points, but really fucking weird and creepy. Some of the awesome scenes on it is this underwater chase that they're doing where the aliens are just swimming after the people, and you really see that they are just set up to destroy, and they will do it at an amazing rate. Alien Resurrection was great. It was definitely more on the action side, like I said. After that, years later, they came out with Prometheus, which a lot of people have mixed feelings about. I love it. I think it does a great job at kind of building the introduction to the alien world. I really think they had a really great idea and kind of lost aspects of it along the way. They also tried to recreate a lot of the same feelings that the original Alien did, and some of it succeeded, some of it didn't. But that was also, I think, the first one that Ridley Scott wasn't heavily involved in. He just kind of gave his go ahead with it, and they did. The xenomorphs in it, there aren't xenomorphs in it. They're completely new ones, which I guess you call them precursors, more or less, but they're a little different. The face hugger's a little different this time. It's actually more of a space cobra constrictor impregnator thing. And Prometheus was a weird one. I definitely like it. It definitely amped up the horror factor again. And then they came out with Alien Covenant, which is kind of a sequel to Prometheus, kind of not. It's its own thing, kind of. They reveal how aliens were made, and I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. I don't know. I always liked the idea that the aliens were just this not amorphous. I don't know what the right word is offhand, but just this alien species that just drifts through space one way or another, and basically the perfect predator, unlike Predator, that is just designed like an intergalactic ant, where it's got the hive mind with the one queen that just reproduces and stuff like that. I always thought that was just an interesting take, space and nature taking its course, some kind of evolution causing that to happen in some realm of existence. But then with Alien Covenant, they brought about how I want to say it was the android Michael ends up creating aliens by testing them with the other stuff, and it's this whole like Frankenstein all over again. He's the creation who wants to create, so he does by experimenting on Elizabeth Shaw and all this other stuff. It was cool, it was good, but I don't think it added to the alien mythos as opposed to taken away, I guess. I don't know. I think that little bit of mystery that was there needed to stay there. Um, Showing that the aliens are more or less man-made kind of, I don't know, goes against the grain to me, because that was the whole thing from the get-go, is that Butani was always trying to get them so they could create and do things with them. So it's a weird thing altogether. But besides that, the movies are all good. They all have amazing practical effects, special effects, CGI effects. They've won, all kinds of awards. They've been some of the most influential films in sci-fi cinema in the last 40 years. Like I said, the first one came out in 79, so yeah, literally 41 years ago. Sigourney Weaver is still involved in the ones they make. They've done Alien vs. Predator, then Alien vs. Predator Requiem, I think was the second one. And then even in the Predator series, they've, hinted at aliens, and Sigourney Weaver's made an appearance in those as well. So it's just this ongoing universe that they're continuing to build upon and expand. I read tons of the comics and the novels back in high school, and still do every now and then pick them up. There's a standalone kind of in-between novel. I can't remember what it's called, but it's this other story that happens to Ellen Ripley in between Alien and Aliens, which just kind of builds a little more of a character, and you actually see a little more of the fact that she had a life before the whole xenomorph episode happened, and ended up losing a daughter and basically her entire life, and has been fighting to kind of make amends for the people lost during the Alien series, along with the little connection you briefly see in Alien 2 or Aliens with the young girl Newt, who she kind of takes in as a surrogate daughter, who sadly ends up, perishing in the third movie, or kind of in between epilogue, prologue kind of thing. But again, like, Sigourney Weaver stands out as just an actress to begin with, but you really see how strong of a character she plays, and how Ellen Ripley, despite all the odds, through all the shit that's stacked against her, just continually pushes through to just not save the day, but do her damnedest to save the ones she can. And I think that, carries over through the series, that well, again, like I said earlier, the one of the big things they shook up was the fact that, man giving birth forcibly through his chest kind of shook up the whole thing for horror movies and sci-fi for a long time, because that was definitely a new foreign thing for people to fear. And not people, but, well, yeah, everybody should fear that. It's not going to feel good if an alien bursts out of your chest, unless you're into that kind of thing, like reverse nipple clamps, but whatever you're into. But I mean, if you've never seen an alien movie, you're missing out. Like I said earlier, it's some of the strongest prosthetics and creature design that have ever been put on film. The newer movies, of course, are heavily on the CGI and stuff, but they still do an amazing job carrying over those just tubey phallic monsters. Um, Video games have always been fun, but they've always seemed to kind of be lacking. The books are always great. I've got a bunch of the comics. There's all kinds of random, I don't want to say variants, but just like weird storylines. There's Batman versus Alien. There's one of the ones I have is Alien versus Predator versus Terminator. There's just a ton of them. They just keep expanding on it. Not that it's bad, but some of it's just fucking weird and outlandish. The Batman versus Alien series I really want to read just because I'm a huge Batman nerd, and to have Alien thrown in there would be fun. I'm sure there's something with like Joker having a xenomorph pop out of his chest or something. That'd be, he'd laugh the whole time, I'm sure. But I don't know, guys. As far as controversy goes, it's got a big dick for a head and teeth. What more do you want for controversy? It's gonna either fuck you with its head or eat you, one of the two. But I don't know. Check them out. I'm always excited. I hope they come out with more of them. I really need to sit down and rewatch the newer ones, Alien Covenant and Prometheus. I think are the ones I've seen the least. I can't wait to actually like sit down and watch the entire series with my son, because I've let him see like clips and little things of the Alien, and he just thinks the xenomorphs are fucking awesome, because they are. But I can't wait to actually sit down and show him how they all started, and that'll definitely be an experience. I don't know. I think that's about all I have for now. Until next time, stay devious. Remember to support our partnerships with Respawn and their awesome energy drinks, and also Microsoft. We got a lot of stuff in store coming up. Music, game reviews, movie reviews, skits, interpretive dance. We're working on a fully person Irish dance, kind of like Lord of the Dance, only it's Buffalo Bob themed, with the entire crew doing the no-handed Buffalo Tuck It Back. But it's definitely going to be fun. We'll have as much of the unedited footage as we can, possibly share with hardcore full male frontal nudity. But until then, stay devious. See ya.